Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Chris Sost, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in to a new episode of the Gig Economy Lounge. Today's episode is all about dun 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 dun, the epic failure of Uber's payment processing technology for the past 72 hours. Actually, it might even be more hours than that now. That's right, folks. Believe it or not, I am actually going to talk about this because this is one thing where I have had a little bit of experience in a company on a much smaller scale, obviously, because I couldn't even wrap my brain around building an app that literally over 100 million people utilize on a monthly basis. Millions using daily. Pretty insane. But as most of you have noticed, if you drive for Uber, your trips are either processing with ... afterwards, or they simply aren't there now, which I don't know if we're graduating to where, like, at least before you could see that you took the trip, and then now, like, you don't know that the trip exists yet. But it's a pretty big problem. Obviously, for some folks, or maybe even a lot of folks who cash out daily, that's probably a pretty big issue. But even for folks like me, I will give Uber the benefit of the doubt. I'll give any technology, the company, the benefit of the doubt when it comes to breaking code. Happens all the time. It was actually my number one frustration at my previous company that I was with. We would test. They call it QA testing, and you test in a test environment because obviously you don't want to test new technology or new code in production, because if you have it break, you don't want it to break in production. So you try your hardest to build a test environment that is as close to the production environment as humanly possible. But I can tell you this much: either A, the tech folks that work there were just terrible at creating good test environments, that's totally plausible. Or number two, there is just certain things, certain code that you write. It could be something as simple as, putting in a period somewhere. Like so when you read a sentence in the app, there's a period at the end. That little piece of code that does that could literally break another piece of code that's far more important than that fucking period was in the beginning. So now that I'm starting to see on social media all these things like you're in a low demand area, you're eligible for a rematch during the next 5 minutes, and like there's like these new messages popping up, it's starting to make sense what possibly broke the payment recording or payment processing part of the app. So I can tell you this much: I had about $280 from Saturday that just wasn't there at all. However, surprisingly enough, when I called Uber support, yes, the folks that were sitting in another country, they were actually able to walk through and they could see, which I don't know how, but they literally gave me dollar for dollar amounts on every single trip that was pending that I couldn't see. So I did my due diligence and I wrote them all down, and slowly but surely, about 24 hours afterwards, I started seeing the payments, literally one by one. It was kind of funny. Kind of ridiculous. Obviously, there's no excuse for this type of thing, especially when you're talking about millions of people who are trying to get paid. From my perspective, I get paid weekly anyway, so it didn't matter as long as it showed up on my end of the week pay statement. But what got me as a driver was I couldn't even see the trips. So it's one thing if I just see all of my trips pending, cool, because there's at least I can see a log of my trips and I can be like, all right, at least shit's like somewhat working. It's just the money aspect isn't there. So that to me isn't a very big deal. But I can see why it would be a really big deal to others. What truly is amazing me is how long that this break in the code is taking to fix. Because normally you can push out patches and updates to fix things relatively quickly. So, there's two sides of things that that you can fix. It's either a server problem, which you don't need to push an app update to fix, or there's actually an app problem that you do need to push a update to fix. So I honestly I don't know which one is the case for Uber, but I certainly hope for a lot of drivers' sake that they fix it relatively quickly. So just wanted to do that episode on that. Short, sweet episode. If you have any comments, concerns, questions, I actually sent a message. I sent out a few tweets to Uber. Obviously, you get candid responses. However, there was an overwhelming welcoming and liking and retweeting of my tweet to Uber, which I thought was pretty. I find Twitter to be pretty funny in general. So obviously, I was not the only person that voiced my frustrations. If I can grab my phone while I am talking, I will pull up. I try not to be an asshole to the companies, mainly just because it's not really, who I am. Here it is. Bam. Let's see here. Get past my retweets. Where did I? Oh, come on now. This would happen. There we go. So I tweeted at Uber, you are destroying the little trust that a small percentage of drivers still have in you with this massive app problem. Trips are not even showing up at this point. IT is dropping the ball on this issue, and it's going on 3 days with no real solution. Hashtag heads should roll, hashtag disappointed. Obviously they had their candid response. I'll just backtrack to it. Sorry to hear about the inconvenience this causes you at the Gig Economy Lounge. We are aware of the issue and we are working to resolve it ASAP. We appreciate your patience. I get it. It's a PR thing for them, but nonetheless, I did want to do this podcast episode because I know that my visions or my ideas don't align with a lot of full-time gig economy contractors out there. But in this instance, I wanted to say, hey, I know how I feel the pain. And maybe we don't, maybe I don't necessarily see it in terms of I didn't need the money, but I get the frustrations from the standpoint that I couldn't even track the trips that I took over the weekend or the trips that I did this morning. Kind of like Jesus take the wheel situation, and you're just living on a prayer, hoping that Uber is keeping up with it. I knew that they at least do that. So, when I called support, I was able, to get every trip's information, including the actual calculated fare. What you earned. So, getting that information from support at least gave me a little bit of reassurance that it's just an app facing issue. So it's a front end app issue. It's not an actual tracking issue. Thank God, because Uber would just start paying people boatloads of money because they lost trips, but they don't actually lose the trips. The technology that's sends that trip information to your app is broken somewhere, and we can only hope, pray. Don't hold your breath. Cross your fingers, cross your toes, cross your legs, arms, whatever else you want to cross, that they get this thing fixed in the next 48 hours. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys, and have a great day.